Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Philip Bywaters. Shortly, we will share the story of Aboriginal soldier Private Gordon Henry D'Antoine from the northwest of Western Australia. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Keith Payne, veteran and recipient of the Victoria Cross for service during the Vietnam War, and the accompanying delegation. We warmly welcome veterans from Kimberley Squadron Norforce, the delegation from the Army Indigenous Development Program 28, Gidjar Senior Cultural Lawman Patrick Mungmung, delegations from the Australian Submarine Agency and the Royal Australian Naval College, HMAS Creswell, and representatives from Amazon, Australia. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of St Thomas More Catholic Primary School from Campbelltown, New South Wales. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
It's going to take a long time for that one to stand up. So maybe give it a pause when you get to the top of the stairs and then the road.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Gordon Henry d'Antoine. Gordon d'Antoine was born on the 5th of March, 1946, in Derby, Western Australia, the third of 8 children born to Henry and Ada d'Antoine. Young Gordon grew up in Broome and attended Broome State School. Outside of school, he enjoyed building model kits of aircraft and ships. After leaving school, d'Antoine began working as an assistant mechanic for Northwest Engineering, but left after a year due to a lack of work and opportunities. He found employment as a junior postal officer for the Postmaster General's Department at Derby. Seeking greater opportunity, on the 6th of February 1964, a month before his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the Australian Regular Army with parental permission, nominating the infantry as his preferred destination. After basic training at Kapooka and infantry training at Singleton, in September, he was posted as a rifleman to the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment. Private d'Antoine attended education courses and in June 1965, transferred to 2 RAR's Assault Pioneer Platoon. In August, he completed a 2-week cinema projectionist course, described by his instructors as a keen and capable student. In January 1966, d'Antoine was transferred to the 5th Battalion, the Royal Australian Regiment, which was preparing deployment to South Vietnam. Initially reverting to rifleman, d'Antoine was transferred to 5 RAR's Assault Pioneer Platoon in early March. After final exercise, 5 RAR began deploying by air to South Vietnam in April and May. Departing Sydney for Saigon on the 30th of April, 5 RAR was the first half of the newly raised 1st Australian Task Force to arrive in South Vietnam and would be based at Nui Dat in Phoc Thuy Province, southeast of Saigon. Joined by 6 RAR in June, the battalions began clearing and setting up the base. The 2 battalions also began an intensive series of patrols and larger operations to secure the province from Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army units. One of ATF's objectives was maintaining security of Route 15, the main road linking Vung Tau to Saigon. Dominating Route 15 and 180th space at Nui Dat were the Nui Din and Nui Ti Vai mountains located to the west of Nui Dat. The mountains, known to Australians as the Warburtons or the Warbies, were home to 274 VC Regiment, which intended to dominate Route 15 and the nearby towns and villages. At the beginning of October, 5 RAR was deployed on a rolling series of operations to secure Route 15 in order to provide safe passage to a US division transiting from Vung Tau to Saigon. The battalion cleared the western slopes and summits of Nui Ti Vai and Nui Ong Trin, destroying a large enemy base, a booby trap factory, and vast quantities of food. However, in encountering a large number of booby traps, 5 RAR had suffered over a dozen casualties. Although enemy contacts had been limited, the Australians had also been subjected to ineffective sniper fire. After leaving the mountains, 5 RAR returned to guard Route 15. 6 days later, the battalion returned to the Warbies. On the 17th of October, a cave and tunnel complex, extensively booby-trapped, was located. 5 RAR's Assault Pioneer Platoon, led by 2nd Lieutenant John McAloney, was tasked with clearing the caves on the 18th of October. After arriving at the caves, McAloney asked for a volunteer to go forward with him. Dan Tuan, who had earned a reputation as a courageous scout, volunteered immediately. After posting sentries, McAloney went to the cave entrance with Dan Tuan and his radio operator. Discovering a booby trap just inside the cave's entrance, McAloney entered to disarm it. As he did so, a shot rang out and struck the rocks near Dan Tuan. McAloney left the cave, telling his scout to take cover. As he was giving orders to his men, a second shot rang out. Dan Tuan groaned and collapsed as the enemy round entered his back and exited from his chest. The platoon medic rushed to Dan Tuan, providing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and, after detecting a faint heartbeat, dressed Dan Tuan's wounds and prepared him for evacuation. Dan Tuan was carried on a stretcher to an open position further down the mountain. He was loaded onto a dust-off helicopter to be taken to the US 36th Evacuation Hospital at Vung Tau. Dan Tuan's wounds were mortal. He died during the flight. His remains were returned to Australia, and he was laid to rest in Karrakatta Cemetery after a funeral with full military honours. Gordon Dan Tuan was 20 years old. His name is listed on the roll of honour on my left, along with more than 500 others from the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Gordon Henry Dan Tuan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.